All right, Steve. Let's get this rolling.
Yeah, you want to check levels real quick, Spence?
Yeah, let's check it. Let's say check baby 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Check baby 1, 2, 3.
Looking good. Yeah.
Check baby 1, 2.
Almost there.
Check baby 1. It's called the Wump Shaker. The beast is like sweeter than candy. I'm feeling manly and your shake is coming in handy.
Oh, that's awesome.
You want me to keep that, don't you?
Oh, yes. You've got I love your inflections like 1, 2.
Oh man!
Oh,
it is a night. It's a night show for sure, man. I'm feeling it tonight. Woo.
Yeah, I actually took like a 10-minute siesta really quick so I could have a little energy, and it's helped. So
nice. So hey, did you see that thing real quick? There's like that. There's someone running for a congressional seat, and there's this whole super PAC that's trying to oppose him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and the only thing they've got on this guy, because he's like a business owner and a formal congressional aide, and he's 30, he's young and energetic. It's they're trying to badmouth him because he was in a cappella group in college and he dressed up like Han Solo and did some cosplay and sang with his group. I mean, if you're gonna go after someone, find some dirt, right? The
travesty. Couldn't he have gone as Princess Leia?
I mean, what's next? Are these guys going to be I feel like when you were in high school, you were in a musical or some sort of a skit in a social studies class. So therefore, we're going to go after you to try to target you and get you out of there.
I think you played Adolf Hitler, and there was anti-Semitism. Yeah.
But it was the producers. It was the producers.
Right.
I think I'm ever going to get into a political office because when I was in 3rd grade, my mom dressed me up as Michael Jackson for Halloween.
Forget 3rd grade. It was that rump shaker thing that you just did, man. Tonight. That's going to keep you out of office, man. He hates women with large rumps.
All right.
Maybe he loves women with large rumps. Maybe that's the message.
All right. You ready to do it, Steve?
Let's do this thing, Spence. Punch it, Chewie!
Welcome to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot, as always, is Steve Madura.
Hey, yo!
We're two best friends that, despite being fathers and husbands, we just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 15.
I am so freaking good right now. I can't even tell you, Spence.
No, Steve, you're going to have to tell me because I want to know.
It's awesome. So I am a lone man in the wilderness of life right now. So my wife, I sent her out to Utah to go visit a friend, and she was like, "Are you sure you want me to do this?" I was like, "Yeah, no problem." And that night, right after I made the decision, I'm lying awake. She's like, "Are you awake?" I'm like, "Yes." She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I don't know." And she's already bought the ticket. So I have 4 kids, and they have busy schedules like Cub Scouts and swimming and basketball and ballet and play practice and all the other things. And I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to keep this straight. So my refrigerator right now, my wife left on Monday. It's Tuesday night. Monday she left, and everybody's been pitching in. People from my church have been picking up my kids. My mother-in-law has been watching my daughter who's not in school yet. And my wife texted me the other night. She's like, 2 questions. Is the house still standing, and are the children still alive? And I said, well, the sunroom, that went up in flames last night, and one of the children is no longer with us. But everybody else, we're good. We're good. So
no, that's 75%. We're okay.
Yeah, right? That's passing. That's a passing grade. So anyway, but no, it's actually been good. We've stuck with a schedule. Kids need a schedule, and we had tacos last night, and we had raviolis with a salad, and I mean, they practiced their piano and gone to their Cub Scouts, and I think I've done pretty well. I feel like little Michael Keaton-esque. I'm trying to hone my Mr. Mom skills.
Yeah, there you go. I know what that feels like. Brita was gone for 4 days last week, and it was just me and the boys. I was lone man in the wilderness, so I know how you feel, man. I'm right there. I was just there.
And how did that go?
It was really good. For the most part, there moments when, kids melt down and whatnot, but let me tell you something. So Sunday was my birthday, and
happy birthday. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good
I want to say that I got tons of birthday wishes from people who listen to this podcast, but the person that co-hosts the podcast with me, my best friend, my brother, this man who I've known since I'm 9 years old, doesn't say hey, doesn't text message, doesn't video chat me. He doesn't send me a message even on Facebook.
What's even funnier is I actually read a bunch of your birthday notes. The one from Josh was freaking hilarious about giving you a noogie, but you couldn't because your bones were too brittle. I thought that was freaking hilarious.
So you read everyone else's birthday wishes to me, but you didn't message me. I'm gonna remember this.
Well, I saw them and I thought,
I'm gonna remember this.
I'm like, I can't do better than that, man. Josh took the cake. What was I to do? Happy birthday, man. Like, that sucks.
Yeah. So Sunday I turned 38. Let me tell you this. So I had this moment, and this is one of these moments that if you have kids, you just cherish, right? I was downstairs with the boys, and it's Sunday morning, maybe about like 9 o'clock in the morning. And I said to Charlie, he's my oldest, he's 4. And I said, Charlie, do you know what day it is today? And he looks at me and says, no. And I said, it's Daddy's. He goes, birthday! And he goes, yay! And starts clapping. And then he impromptu breaks out into singing the birthday song. And Jackson, who's going to turn 3 in April, kind of joins in the best he could. And it literally was just impromptu. And it was my 2 little boys singing happy birthday to me. And then as soon as they finished, they started clapping. And then they had me fake blow out the candles on a imaginary cake. And it was the sweetest, most touching moment. It was wonderful. It's something like I'm going to remember for a long time, right? Because those are the things as a father, like, you just love. Then, of course, like half an hour later, they were fighting and pulling each other's hair and, normal stuff. So
it's those spontaneous moments of like love that really do touch. Like, Addison will come and just give you a big hug and just be like, I was like, what was that for, buddy? He's like, just because. I'm like, melt heart.
Right. Exactly. Over the weekend, Friday, the Nintendo Switch released, and I picked my pre-order up. And let me tell you,
have you seen the light of day since then?
Yes, because I work and I'm a reasonable adult that has to continue to be a reasonable adult, unfortunately.
Right.
It's great. I mean, there is some criticisms I do have. They're minor, but I've got it docked in its station, connected to my TV. I've got my Pro controller to connect to it. And I'm not very far into Legend of Zelda, The Breath of the Wild, but I'm loving it. I've played it the last 2 nights. I didn't play it much over the weekend because of the boys. But it's fun. It's great. So I know, Steve, you said you're not going to be an early adopter. You'll probably wait a while. I'm telling you, that's fine. But at some point, you need to get on it because your boys and then eventually your girls, they're a little younger, I know, but they would love it. And I think the idea that you can dock it and play it on your TV and then pull it out and go portable with it, I can see that being a big hit with Carter and Addison right now. So
yeah. So what games came? So what games do you have for you? You have Legend of Zelda. What else do you have?
I just have Legend of Zelda right now. There's a game called I Am Setsuna that I want to go get. It's kind of like a Japanese role playing game, kind of like the old Final Fantasy type of style, and it's by the same company that did the old Final Fantasies. There's a couple other games that came at launch, but I'm waiting until next month in April when they release Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And that'll be a game Brita and I will play a lot. And then a little bit later, towards holiday time, is when the big new Super Mario Brothers Odyssey comes out, and I'm going to get that. And so there wasn't, for me, as far as what I wanted, there wasn't a lot right at launch. There's 1 or 2 things that I really want. And then it's going to be something every few months that I'm going to want. So it's going to be a steady stream this first year for me versus like all up front and then nothing. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I assume Legend of Zelda would probably keep you pretty busy for a while. I mean, it's probably a pretty in-depth game from everything I've read about it.
It's big and open world, so like you can go and explore things. Like I've spent a lot of time climbing trees and like grabbing apples, and I just learned how to cook things. So you can take like herbs and fruit and like little lizards and whatnot, and you can go and cook them and combine them and cook them and make, different things that you can eat. And like that sounds like not entertaining, maybe just the way I'm putting it out there, but when you're actually playing, it's really a lot of fun. So
just putting it out there that if it wasn't the rum shaker going to keep you out of office, cooking geckos, PETA is going to be all over that crap.
So everything's been good up until today. I think I told you maybe a week or two ago that I hurt my back. Well, Today I had to move along with the new guy who's working with us. We had to move 2 of these really old behemoth copiers so we could make room for a new one. And the first one, when we had to pick it up and move it, my back just gave up the ghost. And
really?
I'm in a lot of pain right now. I've been using ibuprofen like they're M&Ms, just popping them like crazy, and then kind of trying to alternate between heat and cold. So,
gosh, well, Was that done on the job?
Yes, it was, but that doesn't mean much for me. So I'm just trying to get through the night, and hopefully I'm not stiff as a board in the morning. And I'm able to get up and out of bed and get going. But if not, well, the burrito will have to pry my bones, just roll me over onto the floor and hope that I can, do something. I don't know. Anyway. So yeah. Hey, real quick. There's a podcast called Mega Dads Live. They record once a month, and they're a video game podcast. And Adam was talking about us, saying how he's been listening to us recently, and he knows like we're good friends. We've known each other for a long time, and we're always very polite and complimentary, because he was talking about him and his brother doing their podcast and how they always feel kind of like they're jerks to one another. And anyway, he was really kind to us, and I just want to give a big shout out to those guys over at Mega Dads Live. It's a once a month podcast. You can follow them on Twitter at Mega Dads Live blog, and you should go do that. It's a fun podcast. It runs like about 2.5 hours, but it's only once a month, so it's nice to listen to, and they're good guys over there. So they gave a big shout out to us, and just wanted to return a little bit of the love to those fellows. So, and
they weave in a little bit of dadness into it, and fatherhood and parenting and all that jazz.
Yeah, they do, and
cool.
They can be irreverent and funny, and they they'll talk about things that are going on currently in the video games, and then they also try to talk about some video games they've played over the last month. And so if you're into video games and you're looking for a new podcast, I suggest giving them a listen.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, awesome. Well, we've had good weeks, respectively, and we've had a lot of new downloads. I know we've been just enjoying seeing where listeners are coming from, across the globe and around the world. And so we just a shout out to all of our listeners, our fan base, I guess. We appreciate that it's steadily growing, and just appreciate you sharing an hour of your week with us. So.
All right, Steve. So what do? We do that rebel intelligence. I think we should get into it.
Let's get into it, man.
It's time for some rebel intelligence. I always have to let you know, Steve, that many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Steve. You know how much I love rebel intelligence. Let's see what those Bothans have found for us this week.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right.
You want to hit it first?
Yeah, man. So I didn't get a chance to go see the Logan movie this weekend, like I talked about, because of the kids and whatnot, responsibilities.
Yes.
However, I have heard that they showed a trailer for Deadpool before the Logan movie. And of course, it hit YouTube, thankfully, so now I've seen it. So let me set the stage for you, right? There's a there's a mugging that's taking place, and Wade Wilson is walking by and he hears this mugging happening. He's like, not on my watch. And so he goes and he's like runs over in slow-mo kind of to a phone booth as they start the orchestration from the Superman movie swells up. And he gets in this thing and he's, taking his clothes off and you see like his butt up against the window and he's trying to get his suit on. And in the background, the whole time you hear this, no, man, please, don't. I work for a living. He's like, yo, yeah, you want to get hurt? You want to get shot? He's like, no, you punk guy, leave me alone. And of course, this goes on for like a minute. Like you just see Wade Wilson trying to get into his Deadpool costume, and he's banging around. And in the back, you hear these guys, "Come on, leave me alone."
And the old guy's like, "If someone would only hear me, isn't there anyone out there that's listening?"
Right. And so then, like Wade Wilson, Deadpool calls his costumer guy, and all of a sudden, he's almost ready, and then you hear this gunshot. And then all of a sudden you see Deadpool stiffen, and then he looks and he opens up, and then he goes to run out, and just as soon as he runs out, there's a Stan Lee cameo, and he goes, "Nice costume!" And he's like, "Zip it, Stan Lee!" And then he takes off and he goes running down the little alley to find, this mugging. And of course he gets there and he goes, "Oh no, that's disgusting. You're not going to be able to walk that one off." And he looks down, and this guy's got a gunshot wound, and he's laying down.
And his groceries are all like strewn about.
Yes. So then he looks at him, and then he sits down and puts his head on the gut of the guy that just got shot, and he crosses one leg, and he's like, "The real question is, what is a phone booth doing here?" It's like, didn't they go away in 1998? And then he's like, "Ooh, look, it's Cherry Garcia,
my favorite."
And so then my favorite part of the whole thing, because this is for, right before the Logan movie, and you can see a little Logan movie poster on this wall, and as it kind of goes to black where it says Deadpool, coming, not soon enough. And the whole time he's like, man, he's like, I bet you Logan doesn't have to go through this. It's like, hey, oi, I'm Logan. I just have to wear a pair of jeans and a t-shirt.
And a tank top.
I got a little tank top. I got a little perspiration going on. Just does this horrible, Aussie accent. And he's like, he doesn't have to frickin' get into a costume. It's like, he just gets to wear, it's like, oh, National Hug a Koala Day. Dude, like I said, I really did enjoy that first Deadpool movie because it's this kind of irreverent, funny humor. But it was rough, and even this trailer had some rough language in it.
Yeah. But it actually played just after another trailer that I watched. So it just came right on as YouTube brilliantly does, and you could sit there for hours and you could just play and you can mindlessly watch. But it came on, and I have to admit, I was laughing hard. His bare butt up against the collapsible door, the accordion door of the phone booth. I'm just like, what the.
I just love that they keep playing this Superman theme over it. I was like, this is just so because that's that type of character. Right. He breaks the fourth wall and does this, and it's just kind of supposed to be tongue in cheek.
Zip it, Stan Lee.
It was really well done.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. Well, I got one. So it's just a short one, but last week the director of Tron Legacy revealed that a script for the canceled Tron 3 would have shown the world of Tron leaving the grid and entering into the real world. And I know that there are a lot of movies that kind of do that and break that wall, I guess. But now there's rumor that Disney is thinking about rebooting the entire Tron universe with Jared Leto as the center of it, who obviously played the Joker in Suicide Squad. So what do you think, Spence? If Disney were to reboot the franchise, would you be interested?
Yeah, here's the thing. Yes, but it's a hesitant yes. And I say that because I really enjoyed the old Tron movie, as a kid growing up, because I thought that was cool. Yeah. It seemed, way out in the future and that's amazing. And of course, now we're living in that kind of a future, right? At least to, for practical purposes. the Tron Legacy was just okay. Like, it wasn't great. It really missed on that kind of nostalgia feel that I think they should have hit a little bit harder while telling a unique story. Would I want to see a reboot? Sure. But it has to be good. I mean, it's got to be a really good story. And it can't be just how can we find a way to kind of milk something from the past, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yep. You know, it's funny because I remember also, you know, I've got the nostalgia of the first Tron, and there's one line from that movie that I think was always...
Where he says, "I fight for the users."
Oh, I like that. Actually, I can't remember the line now. No, I was actually thinking Beau Bridges in the movie Starman, when he's like, green light means go, red light means stop, yellow light means go faster, because he's like this man from the universe. Anyway, totally unrelated. But what is interesting about Tron itself is that the development for Tron back in 1976 was actually the catalyst for that was actually a fascination from the director or the writer of the script with the early video game Pong. And he and the producers set up an animation studio to develop Tron with the intention of making it like an animated film set in this kind of like Pong universe. But I agree. I thought that Tron Legacy, you know, the future's already here. It doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't seem to have the same hold as it once did back when Jeff Bridges played the starring role.
Yeah, I played Finn, you know, or Flynn.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I didn't think it was a horrible movie. It had some cool stuff in it in Tron Legacy, and I probably I would have seen a Tron 3. I mean, rebooting the whole thing and kind of redoing it. I mean, whatever. I mean, I'll probably chunk down a little bit of change, or maybe wait till it, you know, comes on digital or Netflix or something. Anyway, speaking of movies I am planning on chunking down change maybe a few times, boy, May 5th is coming. That Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I am telling you, they released a new trailer. It's a little more in-depth, giving you a little more of kind of idea of the story now because we're close. We're, 2 months away.
Yep.
Have you seen that trailer yet?
I did. I watched it, and you're right. It did. It was funny. It had a lot more story plot line. You know, I don't know the group that they're kind of fighting against, but it seems like some kind of galactic tribunal or something like that they're.
All I know is if they save the galaxy again a second time, they get to raise rates.
They raise their rates. I got that line. Yeah, that was funny.
I'll tell you what I really liked. And we talked about it a little bit during the Super Bowl commercial with these movies doing really a good job with like matching music in the trailers. Man, they're playing a Fleetwood Mac song over the top of that entire trailer. And I don't know what it is, but like I felt like it fit perfectly. Like that music just had me jacked to go see that movie.
What was speaking of music, going back to the Deadpool trailer, Ryan Reynolds is walking. He like takes his headphones out. He's got a hoodie on and stuff, and he takes his headphones out. And there's some '80s song that he's listening to, like Journey or something like that. And that becomes.
I didn't quite catch it.
Yeah,
but I know you're talking. I know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, no, I agree. I think it hits a certain type of clientele, a certain demographic with that music, and I think it just adds another layer of like this is for me. I'm going to see this movie. So, speaking of nostalgia, though, we've talked about that a little bit in the last few Rebel Intelligence items. Disney XD has just shown off a trailer of for DuckTales, the reboot of our very popular of the 90s cartoon that we grew to know and love, of Scrooge McDuck and his three young nephews. And I don't know if you've seen it. They just threw it out.
Yeah, I did. I don't know. It looks different to me. I mean, I don't know how to put this. The animation looks different than what I remember the original DuckTales having.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know. How did you feel about that? I don't know. For me, it was a little.
Yeah. Here's what gets me, and it happens because Tom and Jerry, like my kids watch like newer Tom and Jerry, and I'm like, it's just not the same. And it feels cheap to me. It feels like when I watch this, I'm like, they put a few frames into a computer and then like did it, the old Tom and Jerry, it was all, I assume, hand drawn. Like DuckTales, I don't know if it was hand drawn back in the 90s, but it just seemed to have more like quality. Like, I don't know why it should matter to me as a viewer, but I'm like, somebody actually put some time and effort into making this, I don't know. I watch old Tom and Jerry's, speaking of, just comparing the two, and it's like the backgrounds were drawn really well, and like the gags were just better. Just better written. Now they just seem like they just kind of crank them out because they got volume, not quality.
Well, yeah, it's definitely computer generated. And not that it looks horrible, but just I grew up in a different generation when it came to animation. It was all hand-drawn stuff, and so everything looked smooth and, rounded lines, and
exactly
because it was all done by hand. Whereas now it's all done in computers. So it reminded me of, there's these little shorts that my boys watch sometimes. They're like these new kind of like Mickey Mouse, like little cartoons where like Mickey Mouse is like in Russia and, he's trying to get to Minnie, but there's all these like dancing Russians and yeah. Or, they go on, Donald and Goofy and Mickey go on a submarine and, they're trying to get away from the Kraken, and it's this computer animation, and it's not, like I said, it's not bad, but maybe this is just me getting old and I'm like, back in my day, they hand drew everything and it looked better.
Right. And get off my lawn!
Right. You punk
and this soup
kids!
Is cold! And I just urinated on myself. Oh,
where's my Metamucil? So anyway, I mean, I think it'll be cool. Listen, my kids would love this new DuckTales because they've never known the other. So,
yeah,
it'll be fine.
I always
this
wanted
thing will make money. People will watch it.
I always wanted a huge vault full of money that you could dive into. But if you actually think about that, like, you ever shove your hand into like a jar full of quarters or something like that, man, you would break your neck.
Okay, yeah. Think about that for half a second, right? You're on a diving board. Standard diving board's what, like 10 feet, 12 feet up, maybe?
Right.
You bounce off that thing, so you go up another maybe 6-8 feet. Then you flip and you go headfirst down into a pile of coins.
Swan dive into a pile of copper.
Yeah, you're going to break your neck, and your next of kin is going to inherit that swimming pool.
That's right. Oh, that's right. All right, what you got for me?
So, Elon Musk, the guy, who's doing all the Tesla stuff.
Oh yeah, I know.
He's also doing SpaceX. Do you know much about this?
This is crazy. Yeah, this is crazy. So he just announced, I think this is where you're going with this, for the first time in history, they're going to be sending 2 civilians in a trip around the moon. Crazy,
right?
Dangerous. Inexplicably dangerous, being that they have had some failed launches. Things have not exactly gone smoothly thus far with the unmanned spaceships.
But here's the thing that also gets me is that, like, real astronauts have to have, like, been in the military and, like, been pilots and flown so many hours, or like
1,000 hours.
Yeah. Or they have to be like an engineer or like some sort of a scientist that, like, they're going up on a mission to conduct experiments or do things, right? But if you're really super rich, Elon Musk is going to take you around the moon on his Dragon 2 SpaceX rocket.
As long as the champagne is chilled, it doesn't really matter that I'm a communications major.
Right. I mean, that's kind of how it feels, right? It's like, we're now going to start commercializing space travel.
Well, if you can really think about this, I think we have a really good petri dish in the show Gilligan's Island, right? Thurston Howell III, yeah, he had lots of money.
Gilligan's Island.
He had lots of money, but was he helpful at all in patching that frickin' boat? Hey, no, not a dang thing. His greenbacks didn't do a dang thing to get them off the frickin' island.
Yeah, but he did get a good martini and a coconut husk every now and again.
That's right. No, seriously, when you talk about like the things they have to go through, I actually looked this up because I wanted to talk about this as well tonight. So they have to do all of what you said. Bare minimum, they have to be biochem or engineering or computer science or mathematics to even be considered. Like, you don't have one of those degrees as just a bachelor, you out. And then they have to do a lot of rigorous training, usually 2 or 3 years worth. They have to be able to swim like 3 lengths of the pool without stopping in their space suit. What the freak?
Wow.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like tread water for like an hour. I mean, craziness. So it's like it's like a Navy SEALs training. So it'll be interesting, and you hope that obviously, as another human being, you hope that nothing goes wrong. But from a business
Right.
point of view, like this could go really wrong, and this could sink like your entire empire that you've built, Tesla and SpaceX and everything else you got planned. I don't know. It's a
Well, the
big
other
risk,
thing about
big
this
gamble.
is that he's trying to get this done by like fourth quarter of 2018, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like 18 months from now.
Yeah. Right?
That seems like nuts. That just seems nuts to me. But I mean, maybe.
But they probably
maybe
called the
he
Wright
knows
brothers
something we
nuts
don't.
as well. They probably called Thomas Edison nuts as well. So
Listen, that Neil Armstrong, he's crazy to think he's going to walk on the moon.
that's right. It was a sound studio in L.A. Let's be honest. All right,
Yeah, Van Nuys,
Van Nuys, that's right, Van Nuys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's some of our rebel intelligence rounding out our week.
Nice. So last week we talked about the Lego Batman movie, and we asked you a question. We said, what is your favorite Batman villain and why? And so we got some responses. Let's go to Twitter first. Spin Nerd at dspin67. What's up? He says Joker. He wasn't about money or greed, but just a clown gone bad. He also pulled off the purple and green suit.
Nice. You remember Vicky Vale, played by Kim Basinger, when she was like kissing it and she had to like pick out the lint from her mouth in the first Batman?
I don't remember her picking out the lid.
No, in the bell tower. It's hilarious. Yeah.
Oh.
Little small.
I'll have to go take a look at that. Going over to Facebook, our buddy Eric Salway says, as far as Batman villains, I loved Jim Carrey as the Riddler, but he was kind of weak. I think Heath Ledger's Joker was hands down the best villain. The dude was super creepy and awesome.
Yeah.
What did you think about the Jim Carrey Riddler?
I didn't like that. That whole movie. With I think it was that Val Kilmer or was that George Clooney?
Yeah. That was Val Kilmer.
The whole movie in general. Poison Ivy, played by what's her name? Not Gwyneth Paltrow, but the other chick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uma
Thurman. Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, Uma Thurman.
I didn't like the whole movie, so it was kind of tainted by that. I mean, Jim Carrey's, I think, brilliant in most of what he does. Besides this Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, didn't like that one, but other than that, but he was good in that. He was good as the Riddler.
Right. Eric Gifford, my brother-in-law, says, all right, so, by the way, he didn't wait for me to put out the question of the week. He followed right up with the episode last week, like the same day, maybe the day after. Said, all right, so I just listened to the podcast, haven't seen Lego Batman, but wanted to answer the question about Batman villains before anyone else does.
Nice.
Best Batman villain? Obviously, it's Heath Ledger's Joker from 2008's The Dark Knight, directed by Christopher Nolan. Ledger's intense method performance of the classic villain lifted Nolan's Caped Crusader sequel to be the only superhero movie to date to transcend a genre and be considered a great film, although we're looking at you, Logan. The partnership between Nolan and Ledger not only drew critics' praise, but forced an entire industry to recognize Ledger as the only acting performance from a comic book movie to take home an Oscar. Sure, you can say it was a very public death of Ledger which led to the award, but you can't deny the transformation and effectiveness of the character in the movie.
Wow. That is... Is he taking like Siskel and Ebert's? My gosh, man.
My brother-in-law
said.
Eric takes movies very seriously. He's a cinephile and loves to talk about movies and very educated.
We should
on
have
them.
him on.
I agree.
We should have him on the show, man. That's awesome. Well said.
Yeah, it's family. Do we really want to have family on the show? Oh wait, I have my wife and my brother on the show already. Yeah, we can probably do that. No, actually, I've reached out to him and talked to him, and we're going to schedule something at some point and have him on. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Very cool.
I agree with what he's saying. I mean, and with D-Spin as well. The Heath Ledger's Joker was an amazing performance, just all around amazing. and that can't be denied. I think most people though like identify with the Joker as far as being like the best Batman villain, just because he is the antithesis of Batman, right? He's the opposite. Superman has Lex Luthor, Batman has the Joker, Spider-Man has the Green Goblin. Everyone kind of has like that one big, guy that's kind of their nemesis.
Well, I think most people would agree with that, except for Will Arnett.
Right. Yeah. Will Arnett's Batman. He doesn't have he doesn't have
Superman, I guess.
I like to fight around. Well, anyway, thank you for answering our questions. We love hearing from you. We like interacting with you. Please continue to do so. We will always put our questions out on Facebook and on Twitter, and you're always welcome to hit up our email address as well.
Very cool.
All right, Steve. So I want to ask you a question.
Go.
And you can be completely honest with me.
I was young. I needed the work. I don't know how you got the pictures.
You gave me the pictures. You said, please use these at a later date.
When I run for office.
Right. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had the desire to have an arcade machine, like an arcade game, a stand-up arcade in your home? Okay, so you have.
Yeah. Who hasn't?
Okay, do you know which arcade you would want?
So my brother-in-law has arcade games at his home. He is a successful orthodontist, has an awesome house that he built with his own two hands. And he actually has Rush. He has two side-by-side Rush games. I think it's California Rush. I don't know.
But driving game?
Yeah, the driving game. So I would think, I don't know if I have a title specifically, but I would think some kind of cooperative game that could be fun, not like something that would bring people together, because that's how it's used, and that's kind of the cool thing that I see it there is like all the cousins get together and they have little tournaments and stuff, and a driving game is one that anybody can play. You don't have to have a lot of skill. My 3-year-old daughter can play it, even though I have to hold the pedal down for her.
Right. So I definitely want one. I've on and off toyed with the idea for the last few years of buying one, or maybe even trying to like make one myself, because there's some different ways you can kind of go about, making some emulators and setting up an LCD screen and then just kind of building the cabinet. However, I've got some bad news for you. If you want to get an authentic arcade machine, it's going to be a lot harder to do that.
Really?
And the reason is that the screens that are used in those are like a 19-inch CRT monitor, right? It's kind of the old monitors we grew up with. Right. And there's this big company that was doing them here in the States, and they ended up selling their company to this Chinese manufacturing company. And they can't get it right now over in China. Now, granted, making CRT monitors is a pretty hazardous thing. I mean, I read this whole article about how they have this big blown glass, and they've got to blow this like not radioactive, but this like toxic stuff like on the inside to kind of coat the glass. And the way they have to do it, they have to use like a centrifuge to kind of spin this thing, and they also have to at the same time be like charging it with some sort of like electricity so that the cathode ray tube is going to be able to properly display the image. It's like this huge process.
Like
your
kryptonite from Krypton and plutonium,
right.
The flex capacitor.
It's not just like a simple thing you can do and manufacture easily. Like it requires a lot of hand labor, and apparently this company sold to this Chinese manufacturing, and the Chinese can't get it right. So what that means is that going forward, getting an authentic CRT for an arcade machine is going to be hard to get, near impossible, or you're going to have to pay an arm and a leg. So you're going to start seeing these arcade games having LCD screens. Now, that's if you want the authentic old, like you want to, I don't know what you want to say, like restore an old one.
Right.
But if you don't care, you can get them in, like, people are building new arcade cabinets with LCD screens and like the 60-in-1 type of games where you can have all the stuff like the Pac-Mans and the Galagas and the Donkey Kongs and, you know, Moon Patrol and Berserk and Missile Command.
Classic.
Right. Yeah, all those games, and you can just select which game you want to play. I want to get one, man. I love Galaga. I don't know
Really?
what. It's just like, I've always loved Galaga. It's just simple, you go, right to left, and you just shoot, and you just try to dodge the incoming missiles from the little aliens, and eventually the one comes down and sucks up your guy, and then if you shoot him out, then you get a double, and so now you got two ships kind of connected, so you could be firing twice as much. I loved Galaga. Galaga, maybe Pac-Man or Donkey Kong. I think it would be one of those three. Granted, I also want a pinball machine.
That would be awesome as well. I love pinball.
I love pinball. And there's been a lot of pinball machines I've played over the years. But to this date, my favorite one's still Star Wars pinball.
Ooh.
You got the little R2 head kind of in the upper left-hand corner and shoot it past the Death Star. And I mean, I loved that. So I was talking to Brita, and she said that I can get the go-ahead to do that.
What?
Yeah.
You just bought a Switch, man. What the?
Not immediately I'm going to do this, but here's her reasoning. And she said, as the kids get older, she thinks it'd be fun to have something like that in the house, or the next house we get where we have kind of a man cave, a media room, something like that. Because then our kids would want to hang out here at our place, and their friends would want to come to our place. So she'd, know that the kids are safe and okay and, not out running in the streets like we did as youth.
That's right.
So
our parents didn't love us enough.
Right. So I read this article, and of course, what that really made me want to do was go back and watch King of Kong, Fistful of Quarters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that?
Oh, my gosh. That is... Yeah, for those of you that don't know, you want to give a little intro?
You do it, man.
I give a little intro. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, first of all, I've really gotten into documentaries in the last few years. I mean, there have been some great documentaries that come to mind. I actually just watched one. My wife and I watched one just this last week called The Minimalists, I think, and it follows these two guys that basically this whole movement across the country that of just living minimally and not having a lot of worldly possessions. And these guys travel around. They like for 10 months, just with like a backpack full of stuff. Anyway, so this King of Kong's Fistful of Quarters is a documentary that follows the tales of two men. One is a guy named Billy Mitchell, and he, backtracking a little bit, back in the 80s, there was an organization called Twin Galaxies, which was basically in charge of keeping track of all like the highest scores ever achieved on video games. And so there was a Life magazine spread, and this organization kind of rose to national prominence. And one of kind of the stars, I guess, of video games at the time, back in the 80s, was this guy named Billy Mitchell. And he had, or has, the highest ever score on both Donkey Kong and Centipede. Or he had it back in the 80s. And so this documentary called King of Kong basically follows this guy kind of in life now. So he is, fast forward, till now, to 2005, I think is when it was made. And he owns a restaurant. 2007. Okay. Yeah, so yeah. He's now a restaurateur. He's this funny character. And this is real life. He's this like unabashedly cocky guy. He's got like this total like mullet going on, lives down in Florida, he's the self-proclaimed like sauce king of Florida because of his like successful line of like hot sauce. And it's just this guy that you love to hate, and he just is like this kind of this dude, still drives around like a Camaro, and just one of those guys. And so it kind of follows this guy, and then it switches to this other guy, and his name is Steve. I think it's Wiebe. And thank you.
You're welcome.
And he on the other side of the country, so lives in Washington, and he was like a Boeing engineer. Finds himself out of work, got laid off, and like Spencer, he bought a Donkey Kong machine because he used to play it back in the day, and he wanted something to take his mind off the job search. So when he was not searching for jobs, he'd do this to kind of keep his mind off of it. And as he started playing this game, he became really, really good at it. And there came a day when he was like, "Oh my gosh!" He's like, "I think I'm gonna beat this thing," and he beat it with the highest score, even above that of Billy Mitchell's. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, I just got the high score Donkey Kong. This is a huge deal, right?" And so he calls this organization, and they come out and they look at it. Well, what happened, similar to what Spencer was saying, is this machine was not an original, right? The motherboard had been replaced, or I don't know, Spencer, something different had been replaced, some part which made it kind of ineligible or not an official record breaking. But Steve Wiebe basically goes and says, "Well, let me do it again, and I'll challenge Billy Mitchell." And so the story then kind of culminates into this kind of challenge where Billy Mitchell wants to kind of avoid challenging his title and whatnot. And it's a great documentary. I mean, it's totally entertaining. Anybody who ever has played a video game would enjoy it. But of course, those that are passionate about it, like us, it's a fun ride.
Well, the nice thing about this documentary is that at some point it kind of switches from being about the video games itself to more about this one man's goal to set the record, and it's kind of this good versus evil kind of theme now. It's can this one guy who had been laid off and had to find a teaching job after, going back to get a master's degree so he could teach, who, struggled and just, not had much luck. Can he overcome versus this guy, Billy Mitchell, who, has had all the luck and, he actually, Billy Mitchell holds the world record for the highest possible score in Pac-Man. He did the perfect game, which means all 255 levels, eating every dot, every power up, eating every ghost, and getting all the little special things like the cherries and the keys and whatnot. And he's the first person to ever do that. He did that in 1999, and so it's this Billy Mitchell's had all the luck. He's set all these high scores and he runs a successful business. And so it kind of becomes this like good versus evil. Can the guy who's down on his luck beat the guy that's had all the luck kind of plot line and storyline? And that's something I think everyone can kind of get behind and root for, right? I mean, that's
absolutely,
yeah, it's kind of a thing. It's kind of a standard kind of thing. We want to see an underdog do well. So let me tell you a few things. First of all, in this documentary, Billy Mitchell comes off looking like the villain. He really does. And if you only see this one documentary, that's going to be your impression of him. And he really was upset that, when the movie came out, Billy Mitchell was, because he said, "I didn't know I was going to end up being portrayed as the villain." Because even though he is kind of cocky and can come across that way, you even see this, he goes and he buys a Q*bert machine for this little old lady who actually passed away sometime during the making of the documentary, which is unfortunate and sad. But this old lady who loved Q*bert and played Q*bert and wanted to reclaim her world record or get the world record, and he bought her a Q*bert machine and drove it down to her personally. And you see that, but that's really kind of overshadowed. Now, over this weekend, I found out that there was another documentary that was filmed at the same time pretty much as King of Kong called Chasing Ghosts. And Chasing Ghosts is about every single one of the kids or the people that was in that 1982 life, photo that was in the magazine. And it kind of follows each one of those characters, each one of those people where they're at today and what they've done with their lives. And it follows all these different guys. But what I was really interested in is when they followed Billy Mitchell, because I wanted to see, this is a different
how they would portray him.
Right, how he's going to be portrayed. This is a different documentary crew and doing a different film. And even though documentaries, they film and what they capture, then they go back and they say, okay, well, we got this and this, and we can edit it this way, and they can kind of craft a story, right? Absolutely. And when I was watching Billy Mitchell in this movie, you realize, yes, he held the records he held, and yes, he played the perfect game and this and that. But you realize, he does work for charities, for like Make-A-Wish Foundation. He'll go and like play these, sick kids that are dying. He's bought arcade games for people or played games with people, and he donates his time and his money. He's a father. He's got, I think, 2 kids, at least at the time, because this was 2007. 2 kids. He's been married for 20 years. And I came away with a totally different opinion of Billy Mitchell watching Chasing Ghosts. So then I'm going to take this a step further, right? There's another documentary, and this one's on Netflix currently. It's called Man vs. Snake. And it's about this guy who was 17 when he set the world record on Nibbler, which Nibbler was this game that you controlled this like little snake, and it kind of looks like Pac-Man, but
like a centipede type thing?
Kind of, but the snake gets longer and longer as you proceed on each board, the more like little pellets you kind of go past. And if you run into your own tail, you die. And the longer you play and score, you end up getting more men. And so he, in order to set the high score on that game, he has to play it as a marathon, and it takes like 40 hours of straight play to get anywhere near the world record. Now, put that in comparison. When Steve Wiebe or Billy Mitchell play Pac-Man, it takes them roughly about somewhere between like 2.5 to maybe 3 hours to get up past the 1,000,000 point record and to do that. Whereas Nibbler, you've got to play for over like 40 hours. So it's a marathon. And it's showing this guy, and I don't remember his name, and I feel bad because I should know that because I watched this like 90-minute documentary about him. But he's playing, and his wife's supporting him, and they've got the Nibbler machine there, and he's filming it and whatnot. Because in all 3 of these movies, like Walter Day and Twin Galaxies, like you talked about, they're shown there, and they're talking. Well, Billy Mitchell's calling up this guy. And, his wife says, hey, Billy, he really needs to pick me up. Do you mind talking to him? He's like, yeah, sure. And so Billy Mitchell's like calling this guy up, and he's encouraging him. He's like, you can do this. You just got to focus in. Da, 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 da.
Like while he's playing?
Yeah, because in this game, if you build up enough lives, he's like, yeah, you can build up enough lives. And eventually you've got like a little timer. And if you don't move, like the timer maybe is like, I don't know, 30... maybe like 60 seconds or, maybe like 90 seconds. I'm not quite sure. But if you don't move, the timer runs down and then you lose 1 life. Well, this guy will get up into like the 100 of men. So he can like, oh, I've got to take a bathroom break. So he'll just go out and actually go to the bathroom and just let the game just kind of tick down and kill a guy, and then kind of tick down and kill a guy. And like he could take like a 25, 30-minute nap and then get up and go right back to it, and his game would still be going. And so it's a marathon. Like you can't just sit there. You've got to be able to go to the bathroom.
Holy crap.
And so the whole documentary on Man vs. Snake was he set this record, but apparently like a few years after he set it, this guy in Italy broke it. But there was nothing to prove that he did, just a bunch of, stories in the newspaper. And so Twin Galaxies wouldn't recognize the Italian guy as holding the record. And then someone else here in the States broke his record, so this guy's trying to beat it back. Anyway, it all ties back like with Billy Mitchell from King of Kong, right? And so now I've seen 3 movies with Billy Mitchell in them, 3 documentaries. And I get this, I think, a greater picture of who he really is. Yes, he probably is arrogant and a little bit of brash. At the age of 17, he was in Life magazine and was holding, world records on video games. And that's when everyone and their dog, was playing video games in arcades, right?
Right.
And so, and then he's been successful. And so, there's some of that. But I think the real side is that, he also is a caring father and, cares for his friends and wants to encourage people and does charity work and, runs a business. And if you just watch King of Kong, which is a great documentary and I love it, you got to go see it. It's great. It's really great. But if you only watch that one, I think you're only going to get an incomplete picture of like who he is, and some of the other characters around him in that documentary are in some of these other ones, and so you kind of get to see more of that as well.
Well, I think there's only really one way to kind of put this to bed, put this to rest. Billy Mitchell, the Fortress of Nerditude is calling you. We welcome you to the fortress. Come, join us. Let us see your cockiness and bring some hot sauce.
I would love to have a guy like that on, or any of these guys. Steve Wiebe, I would love to have him on and just to talk with him, because what I find interesting is because you can still set records in video games, and you can, if you follow the Twin Galaxies, recording them and whatnot and sending videos in, you can still set world records and hold a world record. It doesn't have to be just on arcade machines. It can be on Xboxes and PlayStations and old school Nintendos and ColecoVisions and whatever, right? Basically any game system, home, computer, whatever, that can play a game, you can set some sort of record, and you can see what the record is, and you can attempt to beat it, and if you can verify it and whatnot, you'll be recognized as the world record holder. The Guinness Book of World Records people use Twin Galaxies when they post, world records for video games and whatnot. So I would love to have some of these people on and talk about this stuff. But here's my thing. Like, I look at this because I'm toying with this idea of having an arcade machine, an arcade game or a pinball game or both, or, maybe a few. Would I ever want to do that competitively? Would I ever want to be a part of the Twin Galaxies leaderboard, the international scoreboards, excuse me? I don't think so. I mean, what about you, Steve?
My thought is that moderation in all things. I mean, I like a good movie, just like I like a good video game, just like I like a good whatever, a steak. I mean, whatever it is, But, do I want to spend 40 hours and however umpteen other hours training for that 40 hours? No, I have my life to live. I think that all the things that we talk about in this podcast, they are entertainment, and that has its place in everyone's life, and people need that R&R and things to make them happy or whatever. But no, I would never ever competitively do that.
Yeah, I don't think I would either. It would be for fun. Like, I enjoy going to an arcade and playing. Speaking of, when was the last time you went to an arcade?
2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, there's actually a Nickel. It's called Nickel City. Here's a shout out to the Nickel City guys. It's right next to the hobby shop that I was talking about and gave a shout out to a few podcasts ago. But in Northbrook, Illinois, there is a place called Nickel City. It's $2 to get in, and then it's all nickels. So you just get like a freaking crap load of nickels, like a huge. They have like these super sized, mugs or whatever, plastic cups that you get, and you feel like you're like an 80-year-old person on a ventilator in like some Vegas casino, sitting there popping the nickels in,
playing the slots.
And playing the slots, man. So a lot of kids go there for like birthday parties and whatnot. But what's cool about it is they've got a lot of the ticket games and stuff, because that's of course like gambling for kids, and so the kids do all that, and the Fruit Ninja and the skee ball, and they have all these other things. But then they have this whole row of free video games, and it's all the old school stuff. They've got Pac-Man, they've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they've got some old like WWF wrestling game, they have Contra, Super Contra, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, all the old ones. And it's long. They have this long thing, a long hallway that goes back to the bathrooms, and it's just like their free section. And so the kids are always playing like their ticket stuff, and I'm like, Daddy's gonna go back here. If you need me, this is where I'll be. And actually, there's one that I found that I really like, but I have to like play it when my kids like don't come up because they like reprimand me. Like, Dad, that is an inappropriate game. But it's Die Hard.
Oh yeah.
And have you played that before?
Yeah. You got the gun right, and you're like trying to shoot the hostages.
It's freaking awesome.
And not the hostages, but like, the terrorists.
Like, there's really good playability, and it's you have these different sections where you've got to do certain moves, like run past somebody and like push right at the right time when you kick them.
Yeah.
And they've got a bunch of different like weapons. You get like a flamethrower and a bazooka and an Uzi and all this stuff. I'm like, this game is awesome. So
I haven't
I
been
found a few gems.
I haven't been to an arcade in a little while. However, here's the
Yeah.
cool thing. I am going to have my birthday lunch with my company next week. My boss takes the whole company out when one of us has a birthday, and the birthday person gets to choose where they go. Now,
Oh, really?
for the last year, and I kid you not, for the last year, I have been just mercilessly badgering and teasing my boss and my coworkers that when it's my turn to choose where to go, because they like to go to sushi or Thai food, where did I say I'm going to take them? Chuck E. Cheese.
Dave and Buster's.
Oh, I mean, there's a Chuck E. Cheese about 10 minutes south of us. And I was like, we're going to go to Chuck E. Cheese. We're going to play the whack-a-mole. We're going to play skee ball. I was like, I don't care if the pizza there isn't any good. Like, that's what we're doing. And I've been saying this like every time we talk about it for the last year. And I never really had any intention of going to Chuck E. Cheese for my birthday. But now I feel like I almost have to. I've just been I've been just messing with them for a year. I've got to.
You can't back down.
I can't back down. I got to go through this crap.
Well, it's you couldn't go a little higher brow like a Dave and Buster's or like a GameWorks or something like that.
Yeah, there's not like a Dave and Buster's around here. There's nothing like that, unfortunately, in this neighborhood. Which I guess leads me to that is that I've noticed that while arcades have like really died out in most places, and you've still got some of the nickelcades, but like you've got places like Dave and Buster's, right? GameWorks. You've got some other like places that are now starting to be a little more highbrow, like they're like a higher end restaurant or a higher end bar that also has a bunch of like arcades and like foosball and ping pong and skee ball. That seems to be kind of coming back in a way. Like I've seen those more here and there. Have you?
Yeah. I mean, they're fairly big around here. In fact, Dave and Buster's has probably 3 or 4 locations in like the Chicagoland area. So they also have, I think we have an ESPN zone that's kind of like that, but they're more obviously sports oriented games.
Sure.
There's a GameWorks out in Woodfield, Schaumburg area. So yeah, no, I've seen them come back with a vengeance. And then the other thing that you've got is, there's a lot of water parks in our area, especially in Wisconsin. Wisconsin Dells is like the water park mecca of the world. And that they always have a huge, video game component to that, arcade component to that. But what I've found is that they have moved, and this isn't so much maybe with Dave and Buster's, maybe it is, but they've moved away from a lot of the traditional video games. Right? You're going to see maybe 1 or 2 pinball games. You're going to see a handful of race car games, but not a lot of just the regular standard video games, right? They've gone to a lot of the really high ticket, experiential, you sit in the thing and it moves and you're going down a mine car or on a roller coaster or whatever, and it costs like $4 to ride. Or they've gone to a lot of the ticket games, and it really is, it's almost kind of aggravating a little bit. My kids are always like, I want to play video games, but all they want to do is like put a nickel in the thing in it, or a quarter or whatever, and have some thing do 10 seconds of something that they have no control over, and then they get like 3 tickets. I'm like, what the? I will buy you, a pack of Starbursts for 69 cents instead of spending $17 on winning a pack of freaking Starburst. Right. Like, go play a video game, man.
Listen, I can get you an eraser for the end of your pencil and a Smarty bracelet anywhere.
It is the biggest racket. I mean, you think, I wonder what like the average markup is on some of those, like, Daddy, look, I got a Tootsie Roll and an eraser and a Chinese finger trap. I'm like, and how much did that cost, Daddy? $27. I'm like, ding.
You're like, that's less than $1 at the dollar store.
Oh my gosh.
Here's I was thinking about that too, like with some of these higher end, kind of arcades or arcade restaurants or or barcades, I think is a term that's being used a lot now. I wonder like what their profit margins are, like how they are really keeping in business, because are they getting the real money from the games and whatnot, or is it the other things? Because if there's money to be made there, Steve, we need to get involved in that. I mean, I'm just saying.
What is the name of the arcade franchise in Wayne's World?
Ooh. You know, I
Give me
can't.
2 seconds.
Yeah, let's go to Google Wayne's World Arcade. Because I have no clue. That's a good reference. Noah's Arcade.
Lucky numbers.
Noah's Arcade.
Noah's Arcade. Clever. Very clever. And the same actor that was the head of Noah's Arcade was also the boss for Frankie in what's that show? The Middle.
That's Bill Murray's brother.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
He's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, that's Bill Murray's brother. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but yeah, that's Bill Murray's brother. We shall call him Fred. Fred Murray.
We should call him Fred Murray. His name is Brian Doyle Murray.
Yes, there it is. Brian Doyle Murray. Or we call him Fred. That works too.
That's Fred. Fred, that's fine. Very funny. Very cool. Well, so I guess the last question is if you were to have a video game in your home, did you already give us the answer?
I don't know.
Like I missed your birthday.
Yes, which you did, and I will never let you forget. Part of me wants
The Afterglow CDs come out.
Oh, you shush. Part of me really loves Galaga, and I think maybe just a Galaga machine. But then again, it's like Pac-Man's classic and Donkey Kong is classic. And so maybe what I would do is I would get one of those like 60-in-1 game boards that I could play a bunch of stuff, but actually put it in like a Pac-Man or a Donkey Kong arcade cabinet. So it still has that traditional old school look, but yet I can still choose from multiple games. Because
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way I would probably go. But pinball, Star Wars all the way.
Yeah, that's like answering a question with like, it depends. Yeah, 60-in-1, that's a cop-out. Yeah, cop-out.
Okay,
No.
yeah.
By the way, did you ever mod your original Xbox?
Yes.
The Xbox?
I did.
Did you really? Yeah.
Yep. Was
that a good thing? I mean, did you get a lot of play out of that, or?
No. And I only say that because by the time I had it modded, they'd come out with a soft mod. There was 2 different mods. There was a hard mod, which was like that you had to like change hardware on it and add something to it. And that was kind of the first modding that happened. And then eventually down the road, they came out with the soft mod, which was all software related. And by the time I did that, I was pretty much onto my Xbox 360. And so I soft modded it and I was able to play all these other games. And I could store other stuff on it. But I really wasn't using it by that point.
Yeah.
Why do you ask?
Always wondered. Because I think that's the last video game system that I... No, maybe not. No reason. No, I was just wondering.
Okay, weirdo.
Shut your hole. Well, anyway, so kind of wrapping up this conversation about video games. I mean, obviously we should have some kind of video game related question of the week. So, do you have any thoughts? Any ideas?
I think maybe the question should be, which arcade game do you miss the most? Because I think for most people, we have an arcade game in our mind that we remember plunking quarter after quarter. So, maybe it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the Pizza Villa in DeKalb. Or, maybe it was Galaga at a laundromat on, PCH. Or, maybe it was a Donkey Kong machine at, Aladdin's Arcade. I don't know. But I think everyone's got like a favorites one, but like what's the arcade game you miss the most? Because most of these games, unless you go to an arcade or like get like a retro emulator, you just don't play anymore. I mean, they're kind of gone from the public, so to speak.
And there really is something. I mean, there really is something about playing a video game in an arcade, right?
Yeah.
It's different than a soft mod on an Xbox or whatever, playing on the computer. I mean, having the joystick in your hand, having the sticky buttons, the third kick button that just sticks every time you push it. Bad Dudes is the one that I miss. Bad Dudes. That was Pizza Villa as well.
Yep.
DeKalb, Illinois.
I really do miss Galaga. I mean, I don't know what it was. I loved that game. I felt like if there was any game that I could break a world record on, that with enough time and practice at that could be a game I could do that on. A lot of other games like Donkey Kong is like brutal. I mean, it's...
Dude, I can't get past the first board on Donkey Kong. What are you talking about?
I know, it's just brutal. It's fun, but it's brutal. Pac-Man, Pac-Man's not easier, but I can get further in Pac-Man. But Galaga, like, I could go for a while on a single quarter in Galaga.
You know the other game that I really liked as well? Joust.
Ooh, Joust.
Remember that? With the little, like,
yeah,
the little birds that...
And you, like, would have to, like, tap real fast to, like, try to get up and above the other one to kind of, like, drop in from a little bit.
Yeah, they could fly a little bit, and you had to, like, get the eggs and stuff. Man, Cubert was fun. I liked Joust. That was a cool game.
I always liked Missile Command. That was the one where you had, like, the little trackball, and, like, they had the incoming missiles, and you had to, like, get it in the area and, like, hit your thing so, like, little explosions would go and, like, stop the incoming missiles. Yeah. I like Missile Command, too. Gosh,
game,
so many good ones. So let's do that.
Frogger.
Yeah. I didn't care much for Frogger. I don't know why.
How could you do me like that, man?
I'm sorry, man.
You cut me. You cut me really deep just then. All right, well, so let's wrap this up. So that's the question of the week. What classic arcade video game do you miss the most, and why?
Yeah,
Spence, you want to round this thing out?
Yeah. So we want you to follow us. Follow us on Twitter at Fort of Nerd. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Fort of Nerd. You can always reach us at our email address, which is fortofnerd. fortofnerd@gmail.com. We'll continue to put out the question of the week, typically like on Sundays and Mondays, because we typically record on Monday evenings. But we want to get your feedback, so please keep it coming. And every once in a while, we'll just ask for open questions, because I really enjoyed that the other week when we just had some random questions to answer. Steve, I don't know how you felt about that, but
yeah, that was fun. I like that.
Yeah,
keep us on our toes.
So, Steve, we want more people to find us. We want to continue to get into the ears of people. How can our listeners help make that a reality?
I think that they can rate us on iTunes so the Fortress of Nerditude isn't as hard to beat as the first board of Donkey Kong. I'm serious.
Amen to that, man. Seriously.
I suck at that game. Freaking Mario, he couldn't jump over a Sunday paper, man.
I'm telling you.
Jump over those dang barrels. So, guys, we love you. We appreciate you coming back for more and always sharing laughs with us. It's one of the highlights of our respective weeks, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Once again, we will say it. May the Force be with you. Always.